2 years ago today, I never touched a disc golf disc. And ever since then, my life has been kind of completely turned upside down, mostly thanks to you guys. You might have seen an announcement over on Instagram, or at least a teaser, and we'll get to that a little bit here soon. If you're thinking this is the announcement video, it's not. That'll be coming down the line. But about 9 months ago, I made a video called You Guys Changed My Life, because you did. I was able to move here to Colorado, and that was back in March, and that literally feels like it was 2 years ago that I made that video because of how much has already changed since then. 368, right down there, 2 off the top. Strike. Try the Midnight Prowl 2 play. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I think I'm probably around like 400 actual videos that I posted on the channel since I started it as of today, 18 months ago. It's crazy to think that 1.5 years ago today, I posted my very first video, which was POV disc golf with a GoPro on my head, playing in Moab, Utah, just thinking that maybe there was something that I could provide to the disc golf content marketplace that wasn't already out there. And the response since then has been absolutely insane. So thank you so much for literally changing my life and doing it over and over again in different and new magnitudes. There we go. I want to walk through like a small amount of the history of this channel, where I think we're going in the next, hopefully, year, 2024. But we're also out at a course that we'll get to the tournament that I want to talk about here. But this is West Creek Disc Golf Course. I don't play it often because it's kind of the opposite side of town for me. But there's a lot of like really soft par 4s out here, and maybe a soft par 5. So 382, right over that mound. We're gonna disc up to a driver, throw the interval. But I started off this channel with a lot of POV videos where I had a GoPro on my head. I actually have 60 or 70 of those that are just like in a hard drive that I don't know if will ever see the light of day. The first real video I remember like filming and it doing decently and me wanting to start making more videos where I set up a tripod and my camera, very much my style now, was my Zone versus Toro battle when I was in, I don't even remember where I was. Illinois, maybe? Oh, gross. That was so swoopy. Good thing we're putting good today. When I got into the disc golf like content creator game, I saw a lot of creators who are either like trying to be coaches and do that side of the sport, or who like had a retail store and we're just like making entertainment content to funnel people over there, both of which I think are awesome. And I'm really glad that we have them. I just saw a pretty decent gap in like the people who are actually trying to become pro disc golfers and documenting that journey and doing that consistently. I had been working for myself already, which gave me the like leeway to kind of pivot what I was doing, since I also didn't have any employees on purpose. When the disc golf stuff started to like do pretty well after I committed to it for a couple months, and the first videos that I remember being like, oh my gosh, this is kind of popping off a little, were my first tournament videos when I was doing my first MA1 tournament after playing all of MA2 for the beginning of that year. And I realized that it was like that gap in the market that I thought might have been there, and I tested it and people were interested. So I started really leading into that and putting out my goal of wanting to cash at a Disc Golf Pro Tour event. It is still so crazy to me to think that I have only had this channel for 1.5 years. Like, the way that it's changed so much, it feels like it's been 3 or 4 years, but it's crazy. All right, this player 2 can make something. Also, if you have a big goal, maybe don't put it on the internet if you don't want people to like kind of crap all over your goal, like happened all the time with me, even just moving into MPO after being in MA1 and then thinking about cashing at a Pro Tour event. And now, obviously, my goal is to get a tour card, which I think more people believe in me because I've put those goals out there and then achieved them in some sense. I know silver event doesn't quite count, and I'm excited to cash at a real Pro Tour event soon. 332 straight ahead into a headwind. I think we'll go ahead and try the guava. Come on, Guavita, skip. Oh, let's go. Okay, definitely thought I was like 10 feet closer. There we go. They call it par 4, 400 feet. I still don't know why I yell whenever I get further from the camera, because the mic doesn't move. It's always right here. In my opinion, this is like the dumbest hole that's ever been created, because you're just throwing straight over this mound. I think we parked it. Now let me preface anything like that's even potentially negative that I'm gonna say in this video, because I want it to be real, with the fact that I have a better job than I could have ever dreamed of having. I'm so grateful for it. As close to perfect almost that you can think. But like everything in life, there are pros and cons. I hope that you'll grant me the charity of the context that I absolutely love like 99% of what I do. And that's so much more than any other job that I've ever had in my life. And I'm so grateful that you guys gave me this opportunity. You guys might know that I kind of did the opposite pro disc golfer thing, where I started by owning a van and then I started playing disc golf. And so I was living out of a van already with my wife, and we were just planning on traveling. And we did do a lot of that. But a lot of that travel got changed from just travel for travel's sake, which is always something that she was a little bit more interested than me, into travel for disc golf's sake and helping me grow this business. Fortunately, right before my last tournaments of last season, we got some bad news about our van that it probably wouldn't hold up for forever long. We got a really expensive quote that we just could not even close to afford. And we were planning on driving all the way out west to San Diego and then going straight down to the southern tip of Baja California, Mexico. And the van might have broken down during that period. So we decided that we were gonna stay in Florida for the off season while we saved up a little bit of money and waited out the snow to move to Denver, where we live now. But that was honestly really difficult. And for that last little bit of time in the van, it was so much disc golf focus because we had lived in Florida, Orlando, before we moved into the van. And so there wasn't as much like fun exploring or craziness for my wife like she enjoyed doing. And so that kind of created not like a massive strain in our relationship, but it was one of the more difficult relational hurdles that we've luckily been able to overcome. That kind of part of this was not ideal, even though my channel was growing rapidly and getting to the point where it was just my disc golf stuff was full time. And so I'm really grateful for like the position in terms of disc golf YouTube that I've been able to get to in a very, very fast amount of time. But it did come with stresses and relational hurdles. That can happen anytime that you go a little too hard on a job, but especially when it's something that seems to be so one-sided towards me, and I seem to have the like ability to change it because I'm my own boss. That was a little more difficult, and I'm grateful now that it has grown to the point where the sacrifices have paid off already, and it was worth it. And maybe they would have paid off down the line if we didn't get to this point as soon as I did. Everyone always has room to grow, but don't sacrifice the important relationships for the sake of some business success, especially in disc golf because it's so small. But I wish sometimes I would have taken a slight step back and taken a full look at everything in my life and gone at some things a little bit differently. But no regrets now. We're here, and all we can do is move forward. No, man. So once we realized that Baja wasn't gonna happen, I really decided to just go all in on disc golf YouTube. I have another YouTube channel that I had before this, which I was making some money on, and I'm planning on maybe doing some more stuff with it this next year, but I realized this was what was working. There was a much bigger gap in this marketplace, even though the audiences like top level were significantly smaller, but I figured, hey, let's just see how big we can grow this thing. Thankfully to you guys, during November, December, January, February, my channel grew from I think like 6,000 subscribers to 10,000 subscribers exactly 6 months after starting my channel. And then got through the off season and was very confident that even with my wife working part-time and thinking that maybe she'd work full-time once we got to Colorado, that we would be able to move to Denver and find an apartment based off of your guys' support and the income that I was able to generate off of entertaining you with these videos. 285 straight ahead, proxy. So in February, we took the van and moved all the way up here to Denver over a couple-day trip, stopping through Kansas City to meet with some friends and David over at Apollo Disc Golf. Ended up finding an apartment in like 2 days after staying with her aunts down a little bit south of Denver, and just continued to train and try to get ready for the season, which started for me in May of 2023. My first tournament was the 303 Open, an A tier that always happens in May in Colorado. Aaron Gossage actually ended up taking it down. It came down to the final round where I shot 2 of like really bad ratings compared to how I thought I was gonna be playing, because I was playing so conservative, just wanting to not play bad. And that ended up making me play bad. And then I was like, wait, I'm good enough to get birdies. So the last round I played pretty well, shot my first 1,000 rated round of the year, and missed cash by 1 stroke. 300 feet, dead ahead. A couple more tournaments throughout the year. Second one the week after, I was out in Pagosa Springs, a really beautiful course, really beautiful tournament. And then I came here for my 3rd tournament of the year, and my first round, I shot way better than this. I ended up missing a putt on hole 1, just like that, almost from the exact same spot. And then I went and shot 14 of the last 17. Shot my first 1050 rated round ever, my highest rated round ever up to this point. And I was tied with Joel Freeman and 1 back of Joe Revere going into round number 2. 300 feet, I think we're just gonna go Firebird. Oh, great shot, let's go. Second round, it was like today, I couldn't make a single putt. Like 962, so it was still over 1,000 rated for the tournament, but I ended up taking 4th. I didn't even podium at that event, even though I was like 5 strokes ahead of the next guy. And that was my last tournament before I actually went on kind of my little on the road mid-season tour, which is where so much growth and then potential for growth, which has happened at the end of this year, came from. So I kind of set out from here in Colorado to Kansas City, played a couple tournaments there, was planning on trying to Monday qualify for the Preserve in Des Moines Challenge, and I had actually was able to get into the Kansas City Wide Open, which is a silver event. So my first tournament in Kansas City went all right. I think I averaged around 990 tournament. Then I actually went down to collaborate with Nate Turner down in Arkansas. Massive shout out to Nate, he's got a great channel as well. Played a tournament down there and really realized the burnout from traveling and trying to put out as much content as I was doing. I was tied for first after the first round, and then I shot like 2 of the worst rounds of my entire year just because I was so done. There was a rain delay between round 1 and 2, and I was hoping that the tournament would get canceled during that rain delay. When you go into that mindset, into the freaking break between round 1 and 2, shout out to Kyle, my caddy, I was able to head over to his house. You're just not gonna play really good for the rest of it. 516, par 4, up there, Mando. Ew. No throwing luck, but we should be able to get the birdie. Had a blast with him down there, and then went right back up to Kansas City for a second tournament, which is kind of like a prequel to the KC Wide Open. Played that course for a couple rounds, didn't score super well, and then I decided that I was honestly just not even gonna try to Monday qualify for the Preserve in Des Moines. Spent a little extra time in Kansas City, hang out with a buddy of mine, and just like recuperate, because my body and my mind and the travel was really like burning me out, but I was getting so much good stuff out of it. And then went up to the Preserve, hung out with Broderick before the Preserve, and then was able to meet Drew Gibson there, which a lot of this was so important, just like meet with friends and like hang out with Kevin Kiefer along the way, who's a buddy of mine. I met Drew at the Preserve, and we're talking a lot of disc golf, talking a lot of content. And that's also where I met Simon and was able to actually get out of his Instagram DMs because we were talking camera stuff, and I was like, hey, I'll DM you what camera I think. And then he read that request, and that's how I was able to collaborate with Simon, was just like building that network. Had a really good time up there. Stopped posting daily content and kind of was really worried because the money that was coming in was just not equivalent to the money that I was spending traveling at that point, even close. And so I was like really worried and stopped actually looking at comments, analytics, everything, until I got back to Denver and was here for like a month, which is maybe a month and a half, 2 months after that. So after the Preserve, went to the Kansas City Wide Open, which is kind of one of the crowning things. It was the only event that I was gonna be in that was a Pro Tour event. It's a silver series, so not a full field. It was during the European swing, so I knew I had a good chance at trying to get my first cash, but I knew I'd probably have to play a little bit better than 1,000 rated disc golf. And coming off of being a little injured and having some of the worst tournaments that I've played, I wasn't feeling super confident about that. Now, one of the best videos that I feel like I've ever made was actually my vlog of those couple days at the Kansas City Wide Open, playing the tournament, and then ended up tied 38th, which was maybe 3-4 strokes in cash or something. Let's go. I ended up cashing there, and then right after that, I was between trying to go and follow the tour a little bit more and extending my road trip for like 3 to 4 months, honestly. And I decided that I miss my wife a lot. She was also on a road trip out over the West Coast, and I wanted to see her again, and so called her and I was like, hey, I'm gonna come home. And then she ended up getting home right after I got home, was able to reconnect with her as well, because it was a important and good trip for both of us, getting back into Denver disc golf, a couple tournaments, a little bit of work on some play, and then just trying to put out the best possible content that I could. There we go. But those couple months were really interesting times for me. I was definitely a little bit depressed. I think a part of it's like coming down off the high, part of it was way over burning out. And so I ended up putting out way less content than I typically do. I know putting out daily videos or close to daily videos is a lot, but you just kind of make it how you work. I feel like people are very adaptable. You can kind of adapt to almost anything. And so I feel like it wasn't crazy hard for me to adapt to just like, I mean, I made daily videos for 140 days or something like that. And so now getting back into the swing of things, that's almost why I feel like I have the capacity that I won't burn out creatively. If I start my second channel, it actually helps me because having another project to work on, I don't know, I'm a really stupid brain, but it's kind of how it works. But there's one point where I was shooting a video and I go on my phone and I see Glitch World Championships, Maple Hill. And I'm like, whew, I might be, if I can swing like 3 or 4 videos out of this, I have some flight credits, I might be able to make this an actual profitable trip. And so one of the first things I do is DM my buddy Ben Kenny's over on the Nick and Matt show. And he's like, oh yeah, you can stay with me, no problem. And then I DM Simon. I'm like, if I can get a Simon video, this will guaranteed be profitable. Oh man, I am, somehow get over that. But Simon actually ends up getting back to me, not like super soon, but like sooner than I anticipated. And he's like, yeah, we can definitely do something. And then honestly, until the Simon video happened, until the morning of, I had no idea what we were doing. I was like, hey, here are my ideas. Like whenever I reach out to somebody to collaborate with them, and this is probably a good rule of thumb if anybody wants to reach out to YouTubers to collaborate with, don't just say, hey, you want to collab? Or, hey, I'm gonna be in town, or something like that. like having a concrete plan with somebody who's already so busy and is so creatively taxed, and like give them concrete options and examples, because that way their creative mind can get spinning, and if there's a better idea or something that can be punched up, then they can do that. But it respects their time so much more than you taking 1 second to DM them and be like, hey, can we make a video? So I reached out to Simon and I was like, hey, these are my ideas. I'm gonna come in town for this. Would you think we'd be able to do X, Y, Z, whatever? Oh, I didn't know. What? What the heck? So he ended up getting back with me, and I had known the time lapse was gonna be coming out. And I was like, if I can get the first time lapse video, oh my gosh, it'd do so well. And I was also trying to be flexible with him, because there's at one point that he's like, hey, I don't know if I want to vlog, blah, blah, blah. I was like, hey, if you don't want to, no worries. Like, I ended up coming and he's like, yeah, I'll vlog, whatever. I got something to talk about, because I think it was after Worlds. And he luckily gave me the front half back off the video, was able to actually win this Simon Line bag by playing him and winning through 18 holes, which I don't really count as beating Simon, obviously. It's just a silly YouTube video. But it was an absolutely incredible experience. And that video, if you haven't checked it out, can we get it to 100,000 views? That'd be so clutch. I don't have a 100,000 view video yet on this channel. It's at like 96 or something, so that would mean a lot. But that video by far made that trip, hanging out with Ben, filming with Tai, actually meeting him, playing the Glitch World Championships, even though I was god awful, because I had been doing so much and worrying about the Simon collab, so much more important than the glitch thing, that I was just terrible. But that was really like a milestone in my channel, I think, and in my career, and getting a little bit more of that, hopefully mainstream relevance. And I'm coming home from that, continuing to make my normal content, because ultimately consistency is gonna win over the long run. Let's go, par 4, 4-5. We are only 6 through 10 now though. So I knew that, just keep putting up your stuff. Numbers don't have to be crazy every time. Hopefully the baseline will increase a little bit. Oh, also I forgot, the backyard barbecue video I did with Gannon and Cole at Matt's house, that was clutch. And then it also gave me a relationship with Cole, so that when he came through town, he ended up wanting to film with me then. And like all this stuff that you see happening on my channel is through like a lot of like pretty intentional networking, and then also some accidental stuff that I'm very lucky to have happen. Through, in. Oh! Cole had flown into town. We had filmed that video at Adams Hollow. We were just talking on one of the holes just about how he's like, yeah, you should win 3 local events. There's this experience that you can get locally that you can't get otherwise. And so I was planning on starting about a 5-week off season after the A tier Colorado States, before I traveled to Lynchburg for the Battle for Bedford. And so I ended up signing up for a C tier, but I did end up winning that event. And that gave me a lot of confidence heading out to Lynchburg 2 weeks later, where I was able to play the Battle for Bedford. Didn't play phenomenal, but played all right. I think I took 12th, especially because in between those two things, something kind of crazy happened. All right, we missed a tee shot here. I don't know if I talked about the experience that I had with Drew yet or not. I think that I did, but I ended up pressing the button twice instead of just once. I'll have to say, after that form change with Drew, which was massively helpful and important for me in just getting the ability to be where I am now with 2 months left of my off season, instead of hopefully getting to this point over the whole off season, and also just made some pretty banger content. It was a little crazy because this Drew thing happened and we were texting on Friday night at like 11 p.m. my time, and on Monday morning, I was on a plane to him. So it happened all pretty fast, and like negotiations for fees, and I haven't felt this like muscle fatigue in a while. I'm not burnt out, but I think I haven't been hydrating and eating well for the past week. And I've been putting my muscles through the same thing that I typically do, if not a little less. But let that show you the importance of nutrition and hydration, because I've been slacking. This is how we're gonna sit on the bench. But in Lynchburg, I ended up really straining my glute medius, which your SI joint right here, which is right above your right butt. Well, it's above both your butts, but for me it was the right butt. I was a little scared that I was like hurting myself for my form change. And it luckily ended up being just overuse, because I think I played New London and Ivy Hill combined like 10 or 11 times over 4 days, which both of those are 2 miles of throwing disc, and most of them were not single shot rounds. Get, I think, a top 15, maybe top 20. I kind of forget how high I finished there. Ended up cashing and shooting just under 1,000 rated, which I was really happy for with the form change that was going on. And then after that, luckily I had conversations a bunch with Hunter and the foundation guys, mostly Hunter. But then I was able to film all those foundation collabs. And unfortunately, one of them kind of got lost from their channel, so there's not that like crossover, but I was able to put it on mine, which I'm super stoked on. So those 3 videos were awesome to have been able to do. And then after all of that, I kind of came back home and things kind of chilled out for a little bit. I got all the content up that I could. I tried to get back to doing daily videos and would take a couple days off here and there, just either because I was too tired or I needed to rest up, or I was a little burnt out creatively. But all the while, I just have a massive thank you, because the channel has grown to where my average viewership like in the first week of my content, is up almost double from like 9 months ago. And my subscriber count has literally, the last 12 months, my subscriber count has more than tripled since I hit 10,000, like literally 12 months ago. I'm so excited because I don't expect it to happen next year. I kind of expect the next 18 months to be when I triple again and hit 100,000 subscribers. So almost exactly at 3 years of having a channel. But if it happens by the end of the next year, I'd be super grateful. And I think it definitely is possible because I have a lot of really cool stuff in the works, as you might have seen some proof of over on Instagram, which we'll talk about here in a second. But it is definitely an interesting dichotomy to balance the amount of content that you need to put out in disc golf to make any sort of a decent living in it, with the fact that when you make that content, you're doing something that's physically exerting and you only have so much physical capacity. I hope that you've seen the channel enough to know that I'm not just like this awful at disc golf, but I'm just dead. Oof. But as you saw recently, I had the culmination of one of my goals for this year. Because when I came into this channel, I thought about it like a business. Obviously, it's super important to me. It's like my baby. But in order for it to grow well, if you think about it from an external observer's perspective, who's like a business person, it can be really helpful to do that. And so I came in with the goal of changing the landscape of influence, like creators in disc golf, and how they're compensated, how they're viewed, and like what the potentials are as like an individual creator who doesn't want to like own a retail store or be a coach. And maybe like changing the landscape is a little too aggressive, but more so I wanted to help start paving the way for people to come up and have like a path to move down. And so a part of that was threefold. I wanted to get my rating as high as I could. I wanted to get my channel as big as I could. And I wanted to sell as many discs as I could. And thankfully to you guys, I was able to sell more discs than I expected and more discs than a lot of touring pros are able to sell through my website. And that helped me to land the deal that I have that you might have seen over on Instagram. And I know there have been some questions about the announcement date and kind of what's going on, and all of that will happen. Like most contracts, it doesn't start until January 1st, but I anticipate announcing before then. And I'm pretty excited because I think it's a deal that has never been done or seen before, and I feel very valued by the company that I was able to sign with. Massively excited for what this is gonna mean for the channel, because it's gonna make a lot of things much easier. It's going to really legitimize, maybe just to me, but I feel like it will legitimize me in my own eyes, that I have less imposter syndrome, that like I did it, that someone sees the value and that it's there. And there's one last little piece of the puzzle that has to be finalized and ironed out, which I actually have a meeting on at 4 o'clock today. And once that's done, we'll be able to announce and you guys will be able to know. But until then, feel free to speculate, but I'm not saying anything to anybody. I'm glad we got course pars because I think that's technically 11 under par somehow. A lot more fun stuff coming this off season. Obviously the announcement, I'm taking a couple trips. Some family that will do some disc golf, some disc golf related. I really appreciate you guys. I know that my play isn't always the best, and I know that that's not necessarily the reason you're here, but it's always better to play better. You guys have trusted me with this platform to consistently entertain you, and I hope that I can just continue to do that. I do think that these developments are going to help me to do that more and much less stressfully. I'm just really excited for what 2024 holds. And for the next 18 months of this channel, it's crazy to think that a year and a half ago, none of this existed. And now it is what it is. I appreciate you guys so much. See you guys soon. Bye.